ask you to all please take a seat. We want to go ahead and get started. Give it about 30 seconds for folks to settle down. And for some reason, I see not just coffee, but a lot of Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi in the audience. Again, good morning, and I want to thank you all for being here. My name is Senator Alex Padilla, and I serve as chair of the State Senate Select Committee on Obesity and Diabetes, and I'd like to welcome you all to this informational hearing on sugared beverages. Please indulge me as I begin this hearing with some opening remarks that I believe will provide some context for the focused discussion that we want to have today. Beginning with an observation that there's near unanimity that we are facing an obesity epidemic in America. And California certainly is not immune. The state of California has experienced one of the fastest rates of increase in adult obesity of any state in the nation. Nearly 16 million Californians are overweight or obese or at risk, and many of those Californians suffer from diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, etc. Possibly even more concerning, the percentage of those classified as obese or overweight has nearly tripled amongst 12 to 19-year-olds in the last 30 years. The rate of increase for children between the ages of 6 and 11 has quadrupled in that same time period. A full 1/3 of California's kids ages 9 to 11 are overweight or at risk of becoming overweight and are increasingly suffering from diseases that were once associated with adulthood, diseases like prehypertension and type 2 diabetes. In 2005, the California Department of Health Services estimated that obesity and overweight alone cost California at least $8.4 billion in direct health care costs, workers' compensation costs, and lost productivity. But ultimately, it's the human toll that is most alarming to me. When we consider the consequences of obesity, we must also recognize that today's kids will be the first generation that's projected to have a shorter lifespan than their parents. That projection is both profound and disturbing. Upon my election to the Senate 3 years ago, I requested the creation of this select committee with the goal of identifying policy options for the state to adopt to help address this growing problem. I believe Californians across the board share this concern. Last spring, the California Endowment sponsored a field poll, and in the summary of their results, they wrote, "Californians now view obesity as the single most important health issue facing children today." Last fall, I was proud to stand with Governor Schwarzenegger when he signed a bill I authored requiring that chain restaurants in California disclose calorie and other nutritional information directly on their menus and their menu boards. And that is in the process of implementation as we speak. But while menu labeling is an important first step, I'm under no delusions that it alone is the silver bullet in California's battle against obesity. The people of this state expect us to do more. The question is, what? And as we explore our policy options, it's important to ask ourselves some important questions. Is encouraging people to exercise more enough? Are there certain foods or beverages that play a larger role than others in this obesity conversation? And if so, which ones are they? And how are they more responsible? What are or what are not the links? Is there a disproportionate marketing of certain foods to children that's adding to the problem? And should we focus on food portion sizes or the formulation of such foods or beverages, or both? And certainly to the last question regarding portion size, there's plenty of examples. 30 years ago, A McDonald's hamburger was a single thin patty that weighed 1.6 ounces. That's a tenth of a pound. Years later, this was doubled as McDonald's introduced the Big Mac, weighing in at 3.2 ounces of beef. And I just can't help but emphasize that it was unveiled as a Big Mac, not a small Mac, not a medium Mac. It was a Big Mac because it was considered big for the time. Well, in time, McDonald's announced a quarter pounder, and today we see advertisements for McDonald's 1/3 pound burger. Not to be outdone, Carl's Jr. is advertising their 1 pound double $6 burger. And while its 1,520 calories constitute 75% of the daily recommended allowance, and its 111 grams of fat is more than 5 times recommended fat per day, it is clearly marketed and sold as a single serving. Nowhere in these commercials do we see it being sliced up like a pie for a family to share. The world of hamburgers